two, one. Hello, and welcome to another session of the Mastermind Book Club. I'm CEO David Diaz, and to my right is Reggie Hilliard, to my left, Culmer. In this session, we are summarizing and reviewing a very important audiobook, 33rd Degree Knowledge. This rare book makes you unstoppable by Helena Blavatsky. I'd like to call on Reggie Hilliard to give his first impressions on this book.
Hello, everyone. Just touching on this book, I would call it a gem. And there was so much information in there. But what I'll start with and what I'll focus on is this book is helping you to get to a state and place of freedom. If you can open your mind and eyes and ears open to what is being said in the book and actually put it into work or put it into your life, you can actually then start to reveal and see transformation, because ultimately what it's offering is a way to unlock doors that may be closed. And it talked about them as keys. So like if you were to start on a path and you learn certain something as it pertains to, is just say like, start sitting with yourself, meditate. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about in other books, but sitting with yourself, meditating, asking for answers and things like that. What it does is it starts to reveal to you information and ways to go about your life that can start to really put you on a track, put you on a course, as I said, to set yourself free. So hold on here, got a little bit of a noise in the background. But in any case, that's the gist of what I would like to touch on, because I think I know that to be very important, because it's very much how I live my life, staying open to the truths that come to me so that I'm able to then pick them up and put them into practice so that it starts to show me more and more doors that I can then enter to see more and more truths that I can start to use more and more and more and more, and start to reveal to myself answers that are going to help me to live a better life. So this is really what the book is offering, a way in which for you to live a better life by taking on some particular tools that you then utilize and you see where it shows you the way. So that's basically the way I'm going to stop, and I'll let everyone else continue forward.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you for sharing your personal experience with the book and that you live by this code, and that's awesome. Now, I'd like to call on Culmer to give his brief summary in reference to this audiobook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Mastermind Book Club. I'm going to piggyback right off of what Reggie said. The 33rd degree of knowledge is not just something secret. It's actually within you. It's actually a place. The 33rd degree of knowledge is what freed Nelson Mandela. It's what makes possible small groups to do extraordinary things. Look at Bill Gates and his partner who started Microsoft in their garage. They had a common consciousness, if I may say that they were able to just link themselves with that inner being. One of my favorite journalists from Philadelphia, Brahim Ahmadiyya, he said that the truth is written within, and that truth is also within all of us. And I'm gonna say some things, and these are my opinions, and my points of view only. However, they've gotten me to where I am in life, and they've sustained me. The truth is, you're more than what you see. You're more than what you talk about. The book even talks about alchemy, how you can take a small thought, a small thing, and turn it into reality. Look at skyscrapers, how they can take a skyscraper from the actual saying, like if all three of us said right now, we're going to get together and build the skyscraper. And then we put out the blueprints for the skyscraper. Then we get the financing. And then finally we lay the foundation. And then the action is that it gets built brick by brick, beam by beam, glass by glass. And there you have a skyscraper. This book touches a lot more than secrecy. It's actually what's known. And then, just real quick, talking about the harmony, just the harmony of the unconscious and the subconscious, a place where God meets. And I'm going to stop there.
Thank you. Thank you, Culmer. And it's true, in the unconscious is where mankind and God meet in a spiritual sense. So that is true. Most of us in regular time, present time, past time, We're taught on how to deal with the world that's external to us, that's available externally. But rare do we find an educational prerequisite to learn what's internal. Awaken the giant within is one of those metaphors from a book that Tony Robbins wrote. And I think that this book points to that awakening, are your internal experiences through silence, through meditation, because that's where your true power lays. Accumulating more and more and more, not necessarily will get you, you know, to where you want to be, but removing the limitations, the fear, the doubts, the worries, the beliefs that are inherited from, generation to generation, the negativity. Just remove all of that and forgive your ancestors. This is part of becoming one to one with nature, with your spirituality, with getting to the next level of growth. And just as Reggie said, he lives by this. I am attempting to live by it, and I've had a while, but it's not perfect for me yet. And I want to become at one with God in a spiritual format while I'm alive, as well as when I'm not here anymore. So this book points to that. It points to a religious and non-religious way of being spiritual. It's up to you. Which do you prefer? So I wanted to ask my fellow members in reference to this book, um, where can you learn about this? Where have you learned about this? Or have you researched some of this elsewhere in an educational format?
I can start.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Reg.
Go ahead,
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's fine.
Go ahead,
So
Reggie. Go ahead.
yeah, so I would say for me, I mean, a lot of it just comes through a combination of the practices which combine reading and also putting it to test, because like as an experiment or as a scientist acting in that capacity, you put things to test, you put things in a form where you go and see it or play it out in your life and then see what you get as a result. That's how you get the answer, right? And then the other part for me is just sitting quietly, sitting silently, doing that type of work, just sitting with myself and being quiet. It's kind of like when you pray is like an asking, even though like you don't really need to ask because it's already available to you, but we say asking is the form of prayer. But then sitting silently is waiting to get the answers, the waiting to get the response, right? So I've done a lot of all of that, praying, meditating, sitting silently, which is also a form of meditating, being meditative, even just in terms of walking around and observing things where answers come to you in signs on buildings, on buses, on or just even meeting people, conversations. So I've gotten all of this information that to the point of where I am through all these different means and others as well. So there's no one way to get an answer, but a lot of times we search externally and then we don't necessarily get it because we're not really in tune where we could be. That allows us to get that answer, because even the answers will be external, but we miss it because we're like actually not in tune. So if you can get yourself more in tune by quieting a lot of what I call the noise, the distractions that are in your life, then you'll open yourself up to the frequency that allows those messages to be received. That's how I've done it. A lot of just really being intentional about my life and doing a lot of work, a lot of praying, a lot of crying, a lot of just sitting silent, a lot of this stuff, a lot of reading, audios, and everything else. And it's gotten me to a place where I feel free and am free. So, and also aware and all those other things. That's how I've done it.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's education right there, is just sitting down and thinking and, letting everything else be. Chaz Comer, any thoughts?
Oh, definitely. I lived this my whole life. This is how I survived this coming up. It was taught to me by my grandmother, who taught her mother, who taught me, because they had a different type of trials and tribulations to overcome. And, they would say, let your light so shine that others will see the glory of God within you. And that God is the God of heaven and the heaven of earth. That's in my favorite book, Matthew 5:16. That light that's within you, that's the God in you. And I'm not getting religious, but I am getting religious. Because you're more than what you appear to be. And I think that's what life is about. It's a conclusion of you getting to the point where you get past your shell. The word human, H-U, Hu is spirit. The man means dirt. You're spirit and dirt. In the book of Genesis, it says that God blew life into the clay and it became a living, talking being. It became us. It became man. So we are spirit living in a body. And you need a body to live on earth. But these are some of my own personal views. But this is how I've lived my whole life, knowing that there is more than just me. The word ego. A lot of us have a big ego. I'm going for this and I'm going for that and I'm doing all these great things. I'm a self-made man. That's not true. That's not true. You are, let me put it correctly. You are the reflection of the creator that made you. And I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Chaz Culmer. Thank you very much. You know, the number 33 as a universal code points to sort of a bridge between humanity and the divine, God,
Number of completion.
and so on. And you know, some people will see that, some people won't, but it's a spiritual ascent, a step up from where you are now into another dimension. I want to say, just like Reggie does his spiritual, um, meditations. I try and do them, and Charles does. And the key is just to recognize that this code is within us. I mean, you know, expand it. Stay silent. Listen first, and then react. That's what this calls us to do. So I want to ask members here two more quick things in reference to harmony and spiritual magnetism. What do you think that the law of harmony or the law of spiritual magnetism has to do with meditation, just as this book says? And there's no perfect answer, so it's what's in you.
It's a frequency. That's really what they're talking about. Because everything is frequency of mathematics, which is something I had a conversation with a friend. My friend wrote like, and he was explaining how ultimately everything is math, right? So it shows up as numbers and frequencies and symbols and formulas and such. And math is really just relationships, right? But ultimately, when we're talking about what you're talking about, meditation and things like that, and getting to that state and place of harmony, it's living and being at a certain vibrational frequency that is in tune with the universe. The universe is one song. And if your organs, which you're an instrument and every part of your body has organs are aligned to those different frequencies. And then when they're in harmony, when you bring instruments together and have them harmonize together, you get to a state of peace. That universal song that I talked about. And that's what we're really referring to. So it's not me speaking of opinion. I'm speaking about stuff that's actually truths and stuff that I know that I live. And this is stuff that I've realized as I've gone on my journeys. So if you become more in tune with the universal song, that harmony is what you have, and that state of place of infinite peace and meditation and such will be your lifestyle.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you. Now, Chaz, any thoughts?
Yes, harmony. Your body consists of trillions of cells. Think about this. And without your body working together, all these cells, all these organisms, your lymphatic system, your digestive system, your circulatory system, your respiratory system, all these different systems work what? Just like we're talking about. They work in harmony and they work on a frequency. And yeah, I think it's a book called The God Frequency. I'm not sure. I got to look that up, but it talks about how even in science, like Reggie had mentioned, science, the golden, I think it's the golden measurement, Fibonacci, all of these things have an acquired number or acquired frequency. A lot of times we talk about prayer. Talk about meditation. I'm gonna relate my meditation to prayer. A lot of times I sit quiet and I just pray. Pray giving first thanks, being thankful. being shown an attitude of gratitude for what you already have, what you already come through, what you already overcome. I meant to tell you that ego, is edging God out. But in your prayers and in your meditation, acknowledging that light that's within you that the book is talking about, acknowledging that source from whom all blessings flow. A lot of us, we think we're doing this thing on our own, and that it is messing us up because we're confused, we're depressed, we're angry, and all that is not coming from the source. All that's coming from some other source, some other, lower level frequency. The book even tell you to avoid low level frequency people. Everything is not for everybody. And sometimes you learn that the hard way. There were a couple instances I learned it the hard way. Everything's not for everybody. You have the access and ability to do everything, but everything is not for you. And this is for somebody out there.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's a phrase that empowers you internally. And one of those phrases, I mean, there are many, certain. One of those is I will. I will to do X, Y, Z. I will. I will. And the more that you will, the more that you become closer to whatever it is that you want, your destiny, your goal, your, whatever you want to achieve. As long as you keep surpassing the obstacles, you become unstoppable the more that you do it. Now, I'm not saying it's going to become easier, but I am saying that if you augment the volume of your will, your internal reason to not stop doing whatever it is that you want to accomplish, eventually you will acquire it. Obstacles are just no longer barriers as you increase that willpower. But the tests, obviously, they will be there, and you just got to get through them, but realizing that you have a will to do whatever it is that you want to do. So transforming your life from just having a random life into a life of purpose and connected spiritually, connected with nature. When you breathe in, you're receiving from this world, and when you exhale, you're giving back to the world, because trees need your exhaling, but you need to inhale from these trees, just as an example. So this book is very important if we put it into practice. If we don't, then it's just another book that we've read. Any last words, or are we done for the evening, gentlemen?
This is an excellent book. It touches on a lot of different things. I know when we think of the 33 degrees, we think of the Masonics, we think of, secrecy. But the true secret is that there's no secret.
Well, the secret is that we're not taught this in regular schools.
Oh no,
You're
no.
not
This was meant for the oligarchs, the higher ups, the elitists.
yes.
You weren't meant to know this. The
No.
common people weren't meant to know this.
So live this on, pass it on, and make sure that it expands your horizon of knowledge and the potential for you to grow within your family in future generations. This is Mastermind Book Club signing off. Until next week, we'll review another empowering book. Take care.